Hey guys, Mr. Pookie here, back with another video. So today's video, I'm glad to say I've really overcooked for a super long time because we're gonna be exploring the deep rabbit hole that is Qingque's tile probabilities as well as her discard mechanics. So without further ado, let's get into today's content. Right, so the disclaimer for today's video, right, it is this is strictly speaking not a Qingque guide video, right? It is not meant to be a guide. The only two things that we will be discussing today are her tile probabilities as well as her discard mechanics. There will be no discussion on relics, there will be no discussion on the light cones, there will be no discussion on team composition, and all of the above will be featured in Qingque's CN unit analysis that I'll be doing in the future, right, really soon. And at this point in the video, I just want to do a massive shout out to somebody that I found in the theory crafting community who goes by the name of Qingque. I'm sorry if I butchered your Discord name, but he is one of probably the most in-depth and mathematical guy when it comes to Qingque's mechanics, right? And I had a really long talk, and he really helped me understand some of my doubts and helped me out with the probabilities, all that kind of stuff. So a massive shout out to Qingque, right? Okay. So this is exactly what I mean when I said at the start of the video, I'm really overcooked on the whole Qingque theory crafting, because look at the amount of math that is involved by her tile mechanics alone. And once again, this whole thing on the whiteboard is created by Qingque. I think he might be a math teacher or a math professor, I have no idea, but every single one of this is basically handwritten by himself. Also, he did up the coding for Qingque, which basically tells us as users when should we start using her skills to get the highest chance of getting 4 of a kind, right? So really good stuff, super in-depth stuff, and just once again, a huge shout out to Qingque. This guy really helped me in cooking today's content for you guys. So let's get into the first part of the video, that is tile probability basics, right? The basics of tile probability. This infographic here, I want to say, this is created by a CN content creator who goes by the name of Monggan Tata, I guess. His infographics are really clean, so I decided to use it for my video. So once again, I'm going to be crediting his channel down in the description below. So there are 3 different suits that Qingque can draw from, and the probability of drawing each suit is 33.33%, right? At the start of the game, she'll draw 2 tiles immediately with a technique, but if you don't use Qingque's technique, then she'll only draw 1. But if you're gonna be using Qingque, right, then 99.99% of the time, you just want to use a technique, because it is essentially a free tile, right? So that's that. Drawing 4 tiles of the same suit, it can either be A, B, or C, it will trigger the hidden hand, which is the enhanced basic attack as well as all the kind of good stuff, the attack buff, all the kind of stuff. So the name of the game with Qingque is getting to 4 tiles of the same suit as fast as humanly possible, in the least amount of turns, basically. Right. So QQ draws tiles in the following 2 ways. She'll draw 1 tile upon every ally as well as her own turn, and she'll draw 2 tiles with a skill, which is an E. So this is the only ways that Qingque can gain tiles. So the most important thing that I hope my viewers can understand is that within the 3 different suits, the probability of drawing each suit is 33.33%. This 33.33%, it is shown by an infinite tiles. What do I mean by infinite tiles? It is essentially saying the next suit that Qingque draws will always be 33.33%. So this is the right infographic over here, right? And I literally placed it on the right. So essentially, she will always draw from tile A, B, or C. There is always going to be a 33.33% chance. It is not if she has already drawn 3 A's, right? Then there's only 1 A remaining in the deck. Right? This is not the case, because if this is the case, then the odds for Qingque getting 4 of kind is going to be incredibly low. Right? This is going to be 1 out of 9, whereas this is always going to be 1 out of 3. So just keep this in mind, she will always be at 33.33%, right? So drawing a tile from any particular suit will not decrease the probability of drawing the same suit. Now at this point in the video, I just want to insert a quick little visualization of what I exactly mean by Qingque's tile mechanics, and I hope that with this video, you guys can much better understand this before we get into the heavy content, that is all the mathematics and the numbers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, enjoy this short little skit made by myself. Hey guys, Mr. Pookie here. So this is the part of the video where I'll be doing something unconventional, where essentially I'll be using poker cards to demonstrate Qingque's tile probability mechanics because I believe that using poker cards can help us visualize the whole concept a lot clearer compared to just staring at numbers, probabilities, and mathematics. So without further ado, let's get into the demonstration. So from what we understand, Qingque has 3 different suits, right? So let's just say the 3 suits are aces, 2s, and 3s. And from each of the 3 suits, there are 4 different cards inside. So the probability of Qingque drawing one of the suits is always going to be 1/3, alright, or 33.33%. Now this is where a misconception comes, where players may think that, okay, what if Qingque were to draw a 3, right? For example, if they draw a 3, now the number of 3s in the pool is going to be less. And if she were to draw 3 3s, there is only 1 3 left out of 9 cards remaining. So they might think that it's really difficult for Qingque to get all 4 cards, right? The probability is really low. But I'm here to say this is completely not how Qingque's tile mechanics works. Like I mentioned from the start of the video, the probability of Qingque drawing a suit is always going to be 33.33%, regardless if she drew a card or not. So to demonstrate this, I'll showcase Qingque drawing one suit. So the suit is number 3. The moment she draws a suit, the tiles will instantly replenish with another suit. So it is still the exact same 12 tiles that she can draw from, right? And if she were to, let's say, draw another 3, it will instantly replenish again, right? This is why the probability of Qingque drawing the next suit will always be 33.33%, right? She can draw another 3, it will get replenished, and she'll draw another 3, and she'll still get replenished, right? And then she will use this 3 to throw it to the enemy, use it as an attack, then the card still remains the same. It is still going to be 33.33% from the first card to the second card to the last card. It will always be 33.33%, right? So let's get into a little bit more of a practical scenario. So let's say it is Branya's turn and Qingque managed to draw a 3, and then it is going to be Fire MC's turn, and maybe let's say the next card Qingque draw is going to be an ace, right? And now it is Qingque's turn, so she'll draw another tile, and now this tile is 3. So what would happen if Qingque were to use her ability, which helps her draw 2 cards, right? When she uses her ability, she's going to take from random, and like I said, it's always going to be 33% over here. She drew 2 cards. Now this is the ideal scenario where you drew the exact same 2 cards. She will discard the tile with the lowest number at hand, so she'll throw away the ace, and now she'll have 4 of a kind, and she'll use this to fulfill her hidden hand, right? But what if this is not the case? What if, when she cast her ability, she drew 2 2s instead, right? So what's gonna happen over here? Now when this happens, Qingque will automatically discard the ace because the ace only has 1, right? There's only 1 ace in her hand, so she'll discard this, and she'll keep both 2s in her hand. So her hand's gonna look something like this. Now in the next draw, let's just say the next draw is like this, right? If the Qingque uses her ability again and she gets 1 2 and 1 ace, then she'll discard one of the 3s because 2 is gonna help her achieve 3 2s, which will be the highest number of cards remaining. So to discard, she'll discard the 3 and then she will discard the ace, right? So this is gonna be her hand after casting her ability for a second time. Now the third time, if Qingque casts her ability a third time and it's gonna be like this, then she'll automatically discard the 3 and she'll discard the ace, and now she'll have 4 of a kind and use this as an ability to throw it to the enemy, right? So that is how the discard mechanics works, right? She'll always prioritize the card which she has the highest number of. When she has 2 2s and 1 3 and 1 ace, then she's gonna be prioritizing discarding the ace and the 3s and hope to find the next 2. And like I said, from the card, it's always gonna be 33.33%. So she will always want to keep the one with the highest number remaining. So that's one example. If, however, the situation is like this, she drew 3 and 2, then obviously the next time she were to discard a card, for example in ally's turn, then she's gonna discard a 3, then she'll always keep the 2. So now let's say this is the scenario, right? Qingque's current hand is 3 2s and 1 3. And now it's our ally's turn, and let's just say our ally drew a 2, so Qingque will throw away the 3, and now she'll have 4 of a kind. Will she discard the cards when it reaches the ally's turn again? Because as we know, every single time an ally takes turn, Qingque will draw a card, right? I'm gonna say no. The moment you have 4 tiles of the same suits, Qingque will basically lock in this hand, right? She will not change this hand again until she throws it out as an attack. Now, for the last part of my poker card demonstration, there is this one final thing, which is Qingque's out. Right? As we know, Qingque's out is not any of the suits, right? It's not 1, 2, or 3, it is a fish. So whenever Qingque were to cast her out, this out of 4 fishes, it will always be guaranteed to come up, right? So it's completely separate, she'll always be guaranteed to get 4 of a kind. The specific math behind the probabilities, I will now go back to the original video. Okay, thank you Mr. Pokey from the other video. Now back to our video at hand, we'll first need to discuss Qingque's discard mechanics because once we understand both her tile probabilities and her discard mechanics, then we can really fully understand like the tables and all that kind of stuff, which will be coming later, right? So Qingque, she will always discard a tile with her basic attack or when she draws the 5th tile, right? So she will always discard upon the 5th tile. which is say at any point of time in the game, Qingque's maximum tile within her hands is always going to be 4. So whenever she draws the 5th tile, right, she will immediately choose 1 tile to be discarded to go back into 4 tiles again. So in this scenario, if we were to use Qingque as E, which means that she will gain 2 tiles, she will then draw first, then discard, then draw and discard, right? So the hand she's going to be, okay, so this is assuming that she's starting at 4 tiles, she'll +1 to become 5, -1 to back to 4, +1 to 5, and -1 back to 4 again. It is not +2 to become 6 tiles and then -2 back to 4 tiles, because this is going to be affecting our probabilities a little bit later on, right? So how does she decide which tile to discard? It's pretty straightforward. Basically, she finds the suit that she has the least number of tiles of, and then she'll discard from that suit. However, if she has 2 or more suits tied for the least number of tiles, which is essentially this is the only scenario where there's 2 and 2, then she'll pick at random. She'll either discard A over here or B over here. This is going to be completely random. So this is the only 2 possible situations where she chooses which tile to discard. And keep in mind, Qingque will not discard any tiles the moment she hits 4 of a kind. Like I explained earlier on in the poker card video, the moment she hits 4 of a kind, right, she's gonna be locking in that card no matter what happens. Even if you use a scale or make until the ally's turn, she's always gonna have the same 4 of a kind, right? So that is the general discard mechanics. Now this is the part where we go into the different situations where Qingque may face when it comes to discarding a card, right? So upon using a skill, I'm only going to be talking about skill because skill is the only time where we as players can affect when do we want to draw more cards with Qingque, right? Because all her single draws is only affected by the allies, so this is completely up to RNGesus to decide of fate. But the skill is the only part where players can choose whether they want to gamble or do they not want to gamble, right? So upon using skills, this is going to be for all our examples in the next couple of slides. Like I mentioned earlier just now, it's going to be +1 tile, -1 tile, +1 tile, and -1 tile, right? It's not going to be +2, -2, right? So just keep this in mind. This is the application for every single example. Okay, so for the most basic one, the most straightforward one is basically when she already has 4 of a kind, then she's not going to change her card at all, right? She's only going to keep A, and that's that. For the next example, for 3 of a kind plus 1 other card, which is this can be either B or C, right? So as long as you have 3 of a kind. In this case, if she has the 3 of a kind, and this is B, and she draws an A, she'll keep the A, which essentially transform into 4 tiles, and discard the B, and then she'll discard the C, right? So this will end with 4 of a kind. So another example is what if she don't draw any A's? So in this case, she drew a C and a B. In this case, she will discard a B and a C at random with 50-50 chance, because now with this 5 tiles, she'll have 3A, 1B, and 1C. So between a B and C, she has a 50-50% chance of discarding this card. And then she'll discard the next card, which is gonna be B and C at 50-50 again, right? So if she discarded B over here and she took C, then she has her next card, and this is going to be choosing between these 2 again. So 50-50, and you'll always end with either 3 of a kind plus B or 3 of a kind plus C. So this is essentially how 3 of a kind works. Now, 2 of a kind with B and C, there's these 2 different scenarios. For the first scenario, if she were to draw an A as well as any other card, so this can be C or B, doesn't matter, she will always keep the A, and then she'll discard B or C at 50-50, because right now she has this B or C over here, so she'll want to discard one of these at 50-50. And then she'll discard the next B or C at 50-50 again. So this will allow her to end up with AAAB or AAC, right? Very similar to what we have over here. And then another situation is if she don't draw an A. And then she don't draw A, so in this situation over here, let's just say she drew the B first, right? So if she drew the B first, then she'll always discard the C to maintain a 2 and 2, right? Because we want Qingque to have the highest amount of tiles at any given point of time, right? So she's not going to be discarding this, because if she discards this, then her hand essentially doesn't change. The game will always want to work towards the highest possible number of tiles at any given point of time, right? So she will keep the B and discard the C, and then she'll discard the final C over here. So in this scenario, she will end with AABB, right? So this is this. Now, last application, right? So this is the last possible scenario where she already has 2 of a kind of each, right? So AABB. In this case, if she draws an A and a C, then she'll keep the A, right? Because once she obtains an A over here, then she will now have 3 of a kind. So once she has 3 of a kind, then she'll discard one of the B from these 5 cards. And then after discarding the B, then she'll either discard C or B at 50-50 percentage, right? So she'll end with 3 of a kind of B and 3 of a kind with C. Now another scenario is what if she draws this, right? Instead of taking an A and a C, she'll now draw an A and a B. If she draws A and a B, she will of course still keep A, So this B is completely replaced, and now she has 3 of a kind, and then she'll discard B. So after discarding the first B from the pile of 5, and the next B, she'll also discard that B as well. So this will only end with her getting 3 of a kind plus B. And the last situation is, what if she draws like both C's, right? She draws both C's in this scenario. Okay, the first card she's going to discard is basically C, because we already have 2 of a kind, right? So adding a C to our mix is not going to improve our odds any better, because the game knows this. The game wants to either have 50-50 or 75-25 or 100%, right? She's not going to go back and into a worse situation where she's at 50-25-25, right? So that is how the game works. So if she draws 2 C's, the first C she'll discard and the second C she'll also discard. So this basically is one of the only scenarios where her hand essentially doesn't change. And this will probably be the most unlucky scenario, right? Because this is the only time where your hand literally doesn't improve at all, right? So this will still end with exactly the same hand. Now with that out of the way, this is me presenting Qingque's Tau probability chart. This chart itself, it is created by the same CN content creator that made all the infographics earlier on with all her Taus. Now these numbers, they're exactly right because they align with the numbers that are drafted up by Qingque, which is one of the best Qingque theory crafter that we have in the current global server, right? So this is going to be the Tau probability chart. Feel free to pause this video, take a screenshot, do whatever you want, and then we'll move on to the next session of the video, which is the analysis. Okay, so the chart analysis, which is based on this chart itself, right? So numbers are just numbers, right? You really want to understand what the numbers are trying to tell you, right? So if you have 2 of the same suit in your hand, 3 skills will give you roughly 80% chance of success. Success over here referring to getting 4 of a kind, while 4 skills will give you roughly 90% chance of success, right? So this is basically seeing over here, right? So this is 2次战绩, which is basically 2 skills, 3次战绩, 4次战绩, 5次战绩. So this is basically the number of skills, right? So assuming that she has 2 of a kind, so AAABC or AABB, if she were to use 3 skills, which is essentially 3次战绩, right? So this represents the number of times you use. 3 is 3, 4 is 4, and 5 is 5. So her chance of her obtaining 4 of a kind is going to be roughly around 78.3% for this scenario and 82.6% around this. That's why I say it's around 80%. And then if you were to use 4 skill points or 4 skills, then this becomes much better at roughly 90%, right? So this is what the table means. Then if you go forward, if you have 3 of the same suit in your hand, then 2 skills will now give you roughly 80% chance of success, while 3 skills will give you roughly 90% chance of success. So where do I see this? It's basically over here, right? So if you were to use 2 skills when you have 3 A's and 1 B, then it will be around 80.3%. Then if you have 3 skills, then it's going to be jumping up to 91.2%, right? So this is basically what it means. And as such, you only ideally want to use skills when you have 3 of the same suit. And minimally, you want to invest at least 2 skill points, because 2 skill points will give you 80% chance of success. Okay, so the first part, why do you only want to use skills when you have 3 of a kind, right? Because if you only have 2 of a kind, like for example AABC or AABB, using only 2 skills is only at 53.1% and 61.7% chance of you getting 4 of a kind. And that is after using 2 skill points. So in that case, you basically use 2 skill points to not get 4 of a kind, and it's gonna be really not that beneficial, because even though the using a skill increases Qingque's damage, but that's not the main reason why you want to use a skill, right? The main reason why you want to use Qingque's skill is because you want to get 4 of a kind. So at only 2 of a kind, using 2 skill points is not gonna get you anywhere, or rather the odds are against your favor, right? And even using 3 skill points is really not that high, right? It's roughly 80%. Only at 3 of a kind onwards, then it's gonna be very, very safe, right? Because 2 skill points will give you this 80% and 3 skill points will give you 90%, which is closer to the success rate. So most of the time in general situations, you only want to use the skills and stack on your skills when you have 3 of the kind. Now for the second part, why do you want a minimum of 2 skill points whenever you want to use Qingque's skill, right? It's because if you take a look over here, 一次战绩, which is basically only using a skill 1 time, the probability is ridiculously low. Even if you have 3 of a kind, which is 3 A's or 3 A's and 1 B, the probability for you getting 4 of a kind with only 1 skill is only at 55.6%, which is really, really low, right? The moment you can use 2 skills, this probability just jumped up from 55.6 to 80.3%, right? That's why I say minimally reserve 2 skill points for Qingque, because 1 skill point is way too low most of the time. However, there is one exception to this, which is if you have enough energy to cast your ultimate after spamming your skills, right? Then you can be a little bit more reckless, right? You can try to use your skills even if you have only 2 of a kind or maybe even 1 of a kind, this kind of stuff. You can just use your skills, because at least when you have enough energy to charge up with your ultimate, then all the attack buffs that you get from your skill can now be transferred to your ultimate, and your ultimate will guarantee you a 4 of a kind, right? So that's why if you have your ultimate ready, then you can be a little bit more reckless. But not too reckless, right? Because using your skill points a lot is definitely going to affect the rest of the team. And imagine if you don't have enough for them to, like, say, bronzers to support you or healers to heal you, then it's definitely going to be very problematic. And now we're at the summary for today's content. So timing Qingque's skill usage is crucial in playing with and not against her tower probabilities, right? So this is very comparable to like counting cards in blackjack. So I'm not really gonna go into how counting cards work in blackjack because that's really not what this content is about. But basically, if you were to know how this probability table works, you can know exactly when should you use your skills, when should you not use your skills, which is gonna greatly increase the success you can gain with Qingque. And as a result of this, Qingque has one of the highest skill ceiling units in HSR, right? Because learning when to use the skills directly impacts your skill point pool. And as we all know at this point of the game, skill point is one of, if not the most important combat resource. It's like playing any other gacha games with like your mana. So knowing the time of when you can use the skill points to give you the highest chance of getting 4 of a kind is going to greatly improve your gameplay with Qingque herself, right? However, with all this being said, at the end of the day, numbers are just numbers, probabilities are just probabilities, right? In real world situation, if you are one lucky fella, then you can probably get 4 of a kind even with a single skill point. But if you're an unlucky fella, then even with 3 of a kind, using 3 skill points and 90% success, you might still hit the 10%, right? So you still definitely need some kind of luck. But at least now that you know how probability works with Qingque, you can now greatly increase the chance of you getting 4 of a kind with Qingque, which is the most important point I want to make across this entire video. So that is actually what I want to get across with this video. Like I said, this is not meant to be a guide, it's just me strictly talking about numbers and probabilities. So for the guide itself, stay tuned to the next upcoming CN unit analysis on Qingque, where we will be exploring her builds, the team comms, her ultimate mechanics, common misconceptions, all the kind of good stuff in the next video. And with that, we've come to the end of today's content. I think I've learned to much better organize my thoughts and process to streamline this video to be a lot more concise for my viewers, right? So I hope that you guys managed to enjoy this. And I also hope that you guys enjoyed the little skit just now. I think it was one of the more unique things that I've done on this channel. Alright, so that's all I have for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.